We're going to go over object selection in Blender here. So you could see you have different tool options on the left side of the 3D viewport here. So this one is for selection. By default, it should have a select box selected here. So basically with select box tools enabled, you could just in the viewport click on objects and it will select that. So we have by default 3 objects that are created in Blender: the camera, the cube, and the light. And as you can see, as I select them, they are selected in the outliner as well. You could also select it directly in the outliner and click on it. And if you left mouse click on these objects, as you click on one, the old selection gets deselected with it. Now, if you click in an empty space you just click in an empty space, everything gets deselected. With box selection here, and I can tell it's box selection because I kind of have like this dotted outline box around the arrow icon there. You could left click and hold and then drag, and you see a box area that you could select anything that's captured within the box area. So I selected the camera and the cube, and you notice there's a slight color change. The cube has a yellow highlight around it and the camera has an orange highlight. And the yellow highlight means that's the active object. Only one object can be active at a time. To change the active object, you could hold Shift and click. As you can see, as I click of what's already selected, and it will toggle what will be the active object. Well, not actually toggle, it will actually select what will be the active object if it's already selected. Again, to deselect, I could just click in an empty area. So if you click and hold the icon here, you'll notice that you have different selection modes. A menu pops up for it. By default, it's select box, which again, if I have that selected, I could just drag and drop with the left mouse button, and I'll have whatever inside that box will be selected, and the last selection will be the active selection. If you click and hold, and let's say choose circle selection, it has an explanation over here. What will happen is in the circle selection, actually they'll be selected. Select circle. What is kind of like a raycast, or whatever is hit by the circle will be selected. In this case, I had to hit the origin of the camera. For here, I have to hit basically left click and drag over the object to hit it. What I mean? So once I hit the origin of the light, it got selected. And another selection mode as well is select lasso. So I could click and drag and have selections within the lasso in that sense. And I could click away to get rid of that. So there is an option where if you notice up here, there's some extra selections here you could do. Kind of like in Photoshop. Now I chose, by default, it's the mode for it. If I click, let's say this one, this is extend existing selection for that. So if you already have something selected and you put it in this mode, and I lasso select again, it's now going to add to the selection. If you click here, this one is mode subtract from selection. So if you already have a selection and let's say lasso select, it will remove it. This is very similar to Photoshop if you ever use their selection mode. And this is invert selection. So whatever is selected when you select them will not be selected, and vice versa. If it's not selected, it will be selected. So right now the camera is not selected. The cube and the light, they are selected. So if I'm in inverse mode and lasso select them all in inverse mode, it's going to invert the selection. So now the camera is selected, but the cube and the light are not selected. And the last mode here, intersect selection. Basically, if you have I'll go over that one another time for it. But if you have two selection modes and whatever is selected for the both, that will be selected there. And these modes exist for all the different select circle, and you have select lasso, and it remembers contextually. So for example, in select lasso, to remember that I was in intersect mode, I'll put it back to the regular mode here, which is just select to selection. So if I select something else, whatever is selected before, it gets deselected. So it remembers individually for this. And then there's also here tweak mode, which you could see there's the arrow plus there's a cross icon there that indicates that you can move things. So if you select something, you could select and actually drag and move it. So you could like tweak it a bit. I could do edit undo to go back to where it was. So now if I'm in select box mode, we could do a couple of things. We could use, if over here, you can notice that they have like some options here. Like you could do some spacebar. Like basically, I said spacebar, but you could basically use some hotkeys. So if you're in select mode, and for example, you want to make a box. This is box selection, but if you're in tweak mode actually, and you want to make a box selection, for example, you could press B, and it'll make a quick box selection while you're still in tweak mode. But like normally, I can't drag and drop the box because I'm in tweak mode. Now, if I go another quick selection I could do instead, here, if I do C, it temporarily puts it in, or while I'm still in another mode, press C, I can temporarily put it in paint mode or select circle mode, and I could just drag and drop that way. And then to get out of that mode, you could either right click on your mouse, or click in the viewport to deselect it again. See, I'm still in the tweak mode, right? So I can drag and drop. If I press C, go back into circle, select circle, drag and drop. And to get out of another way to get out of the mode is press enter. And I could tell because on the bottom, I have some indicators here to tell me what I need to do. So enter will confirm that, and I'll exit that mode. Now, if I click, I'll put it back in, let's say, select box mode. I click in an empty area to deselect everything. So there's a couple of things I could do. Let's say I want to add objects to the selection. So let's say I click on the camera here, and I wanted to add the cube. If I click on the cube, left click mouse button on the cube, I lose the selection of the camera. So what I could do, let me just click on the camera again. If I hold shift and then click on the cube, it would also be selected. Click in the empty area. And if I want, that's one way you could get multiple objects. One other way is that if I want to remove from the selection, so let's say I select or box select a bunch of objects. All three of them are selected, and the last object selected is the active object. Active selection basically is going to affect certain commands, which we'll see at a later time. So with these all selected, let's say I wanted to deselect the camera. What you could do is hold shift, and when you click, as I mentioned earlier, if you click on an object that is selected but is not the active selection, it will then become the active selection, as you can see, because it became yellow. And once an object is actively selected, you could click on it again. I could hold shift to make sure I don't lose the other selection. And if it's actively selected, it will then be deselected. So if I want to, if I do that again, let's say I select everything. Well, now the last active selection is the camera. And let's say I want to get rid of the light. First, I'll hold shift, click on the light. So now that's the active selection. I click it again, and it should be removed there, like that. You could also use the hotkey in the viewport. If nothing's selected and they press A, everything will be selected. To deselect, you could hold Alt and press A. It will deselect everything. Or you could press A twice really fast to deselect as well. So I could press A to select everything and then press A twice quickly and also deselect. You could also make selection inside the outliner. So you could click here and it will select things individually. But you could also do a box selection of the objects and drag and drop, and it will select multiple objects in the outliner. And if I hover over the viewport and press Alt A, it will delete. It will not delete. Well, it will unselect or deselect everything. And in the outliner as well, you could also click on an object, hold Shift, and it will add everything that's in between there. And if you want to do it individually, you could click on an object, hold Control, and click on another object, and it would only add what you have clicked on. Whereas if you clicked in an empty area to deselect inside the outliner, but if I click on, let's say, the camera and I hold Shift, everything in between will be selected as well. Whereas if I click in to deselect in an empty area, if I hold camera, click on the camera, and then hold Control and click on the light, only what I clicked on will be selected, and then anything in between will not be, unlike if I held the Shift button. Another thing I want to show that you could do, if I press the B button, the hotkey, the B button on your keyboard, you could box select as I showed earlier. If I press the B button again, if I middle mouse click instead, and with the mouse and then select an option, in that case, it will exclude. So you don't have to use these modes if you want to do it quickly. And if we go into, click here and go into the select circle right here, if you basically want to change the radius of the circle that is for paint select or circle select here, click and hold the left mouse button, and then you could scroll the mouse wheel and you could see it changes the area of influence, which is basically the radius of the circle. And then you could paint, but you still have to click and hold the left mouse button for that to work. I'll just go back to my select box mode, click to deselect everything. So another useful shortcut, as you can see, again, I'm in select box mode. So if I just drag and left click and drag, I select in box mode. But if I hold Control and right click, even though I'm in select box, it will be lasso select and it will add to the selection. So if I try to do that again, it's already added. If I want to remove from the selection, I hold Control Shift and right click on the mouse, even though I'm in select box mode, and it will be lasso and it will remove from selection. It's not a toggle, will remove it. So those are some quick shortcuts.
Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.